another episode of Screen Heroes. My name is Ray, and I am one of your regular weekly hosts. I am joined by two very handsome men, Ryan.
Hello.
And Derek.
Hi.
How are you guys?
Doing okay.
Yeah?
Doing okay. Long week. But I'm glad that we're actually face to face because it's the first time in like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Kansas weather, right?
I know.
And apparently we're not done with it, so whatever.
Yeah, so sad news to all the local kids who will have to go to school tomorrow.
Even though it's Wednesday, yeah. I mean, I thought at this point they just get every Wednesday off.
A friend of mine's kid figured that out, actually, and volunteered to do something he didn't want to do as long as it could be on Wednesdays because he didn't think he'd have to go.
Wow.
Fantastic.
Well, he's in trouble now.
Smart kid. He's in 5th grade.
All right, guys. So we've had some crazy episodes done online, not in person. You guys watching anything cool right now?
I finished Umbrella Academy.
Yeah,
oh, you did.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Overall,
Weird.
Yeah.
It's one of those shows where like you think you're getting an answer to a question, and you do. But then also 17 other questions just now popped up, and it just like builds and builds and builds, and there's not really an ending to the season. It's just kind of like it just opens more doors than you had open in the beginning, and you don't really know what's going on. So they did confirm it for a season 2, so it's going to get a season 2. But then the other week you told me when I said I liked Luther, and Luther was an interesting character to me, you said, well, have they gone into his, backstory yet? And I was really looking forward to it because you told me that it was so interesting. I don't know if they toned it down or changed it for the show, but it was not nearly as interesting on the show.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
As it was in the... Well, it was very disappointing. Like, if it was that cool, they should have put it in the show. I don't know what the comics were, but in the show, it was not... It was like, you go off on a mission, you come back, hey, we got to save your life. There you go.
Maybe they're stretching it out.
I don't know.
So I watched the first 2 episodes. I read the first 12 issues of the comic book.
Right around, or you did read it in the past?
Yeah, I read it in the past. So I'm not remembering everything, but just from watching the first 2 episodes, they're including things from both collections. The first collection of 6 issues, the second collection of 6 issues. So they are doing a hodgepodge of storytelling, and I fear that they're going to like really tone it down with all the characters because they're all effing weird. But I also feel like because of some of the star power, they're going to want to keep as many alive for a long time. And like, spoiler alert for the comics, Gerard Way just like quite often. So the comic's way weirder than the show, just way weirder.
I heard that they changed a lot of stuff for the show. But my favorite thing that's come out of the show is all the Luther memes. Like they put Luther's head on the Kingpin from Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh,
it's so funny. I can't get enough of those memes. Everybody hates that character, but I ended up really liking his character. But everybody likes Klaus, and I like Klaus.
He's the comedic relief.
Yeah, and I mean, he has a much more deep storyline, I think, than a lot of the other characters, Anytime you get into drug addiction and, talking to the dead, which is his power, that's not a spoiler because you get that in episode 1.
Right.
And drinking in order to not see the dead. Yeah. Things like that. It's a really dark and interesting character, so he gets more screen time and everybody likes him, but... I'll be curious to know what you guys... Are you watching it too or no?
I haven't watched it yet. I probably will get around to it at some point. I however, started a new show. Not sure if you guys have heard of it or not. It's called Bob's Burgers.
I don't think I've heard of it.
Kind of obscure.
I feel
only been out for like 6 years or something?
8 years,
Is it 8 now?
Yeah, it's 8.
9.
No.
Season 9 is on now.
It came out in 2011.
Uh-huh.
2019 minus 2011 equals 8 years. Good job. I'm smarter. Tell us about Bob's Burgers.
That's not how that time. Okay, it's in season 9 now. So
correct, but America's Next Top Model has been on since 2003, and it has 25 seasons. So
well, then it must be 2028.
Tell us about Bob's Burgers and your experience with Bob's Burgers, Derek.
No, it's fine. Let's move on.
All right, so
What about you? Are you watching anything, Rachel?
I started
Other than
Umbrella Academy. I was the one that got him doing Bob's Burgers. See, what happens is I need to watch a show while I craft. So I start a show that I don't think he's going to have any interest in. He sits down on the couch and starts watching it, and then he has to go back and start it at the beginning.
So what about Bob's Burgers did you think I wasn't going to enjoy?
Yeah, I feel like anything about that show Derek would have liked.
Like at this point, like I mean, it's impossible to watch everything and still have like a job, right? Unless your job is to watch everything. So this was a show I missed, right? So
Sure.
Once I see it, I mean, what about it would I not have enjoyed?
I just didn't think it was something special I needed to share with you, especially since it's been out for 8 years.
It's hurtful.
Yeah. Anyway.
First
No,
of
it's
all,
fine.
I would not have watched Umbrella Academy while I'm trying to craft because
No.
you have to. That's a terrible mistake. You have to pay attention to what's going on.
I turned it on, I looked down at the glue gun, and something else was going on, and I was like, well, fuck me.
Yeah, I just missed the entire story for the episode. Yeah.
It's horrible. So
Have you guys watched Doom Patrol at all?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
We are
so
caught
you're
up on...
current on Doom Patrol. What are you thinking of that
There
so
are
far?
only 2 shows that we're current on right now. Doom Patrol is fantastic. It is weird as hell, and I like what DC Universe is doing. I want them to lean into it. I want them to lean into the into the gore, into the violence, into the weirdness. Like, just go for it. Go balls to the wall.
Yeah.
On it, because like between Titans being fun and all of us wanting more story out of it, Young Justice doing things that cartoons haven't done in a really long time,
I still haven't watched Young Justice yet.
and then Doom Patrol just being incredibly good. I just really like. Cyborg's height threw me off because
He's short.
but
But he's also compared to Robot Man, who's very tall, so...
Derek pointed out that like tall guys wouldn't be linebackers, and that's always what Cyborg was on the football team. So
Or running backs. He's usually portrayed as a running back type.
There you go,
guy.
sorry.
And running backs are usually now there's exceptions like Adrian Peterson's kind of
They're
a
short
tall
for a
guy,
football
but,
player, though.
I mean,
which
some
is,
of them are just like most of the big time running backs are under 6 foot.
Right, but I mean, it's
So-
when the average human male is like 5'9" or something.
I mean, yeah, but
it's still tall.
out here in the Midwest where we are, that's not the average height for a guy, right?
Okay.
So most of the people are big here.
well, it's
right?
just
So-
it threw me off because Cyborg is constantly portrayed as the
Usually
tallest of all the
big,
Titans characters. So it was just weird to see him be much shorter than not just Robot Man, but Negative Man.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, he's eye to eye with
Elastigirl.
yeah,
Elastawoman.
Elastawoman. So
Yeah, I guess I had always just assumed in the cartoon versions of him that the robot body made him bigger,
yeah,
right?
like I assume the legs had stilts in it or something.
But he just doesn't have that type of intense prosthetics on the show for whatever reason, probably budget reasons.
Yeah.
So that's fine. The
They
show's
did-
good though. I
yeah.
really like
I love
it.
that Robot Man's like entire script is like, what the fuck? Like different variations of that.
And-
that's like his, and holy shit, like those are the 2 things. He can
Friggin'
just,
Fraser delivers.
It's
like,
I do like how he is basically the conscience of the group though,
Yeah.
right? Like, yeah,
when he doesn't actually have a heart.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right? That's the point, though. He did some bad things when he was probably a depressed human being, and now that he has a second chance, a second lease on life, right? He's trying to do the right thing. He's trying to be a good guy. And all these kind of not so good guys around him, he's trying to rally. And
I love
Yeah.
Crazy James Power that turns words into like
Silver
solid
tongue.
objects.
So cool.
Yeah, it's portrayed real. You can kind of tell that the CG is not as TV level on it. Like,
Correct.
I kind of wish it
with
would be
you.
a little bit, I would love to see it in a movie.
the practical effects
But-
that they bring on is much better than the CG that they have, which is why I'm overall happy with the way Cyborg looks. He
It's
would
really
look
not bad.
really bad in a mocap suit with their budget, but the prosthetics that he has is great.
The only thing I don't like is his eye. His eye, like in Robot Man, has the same problem. Is that his eyes kind of get washed out sometimes when they're doing outdoor shots.
yeah.
When it should be like glowing bright red.
Yeah.
But other than that's a small complaint. Everything else looks really good about it. Are we reviewing that show ever or
we
no?
certainly can when the
Well,
season's
I didn't
over.
We
want to
reviewed
talk about it
Titans,
too much if
so
we're
we could, yeah.
I think we should when the season's over.
that's it.
That would be good.
Write a Swamp Thing review in there too, because I'm going to be reviewing that by myself if you guys aren't into it.
You know we're into it. I'm the DC guy at the table.
That's true.
That's what I'm really into, you know?
Yeah, so you love seeing this. Although DC TV has been pretty, like, Arrow, you can say whatever about Arrow and
DCTV's been
Flash.
good for a long time.
But, yeah, so this is just it's nice that it's all at home. And they can do whatever they want. They can bring Batman in on Titans. They can,
Well, they're getting bigger budgets. Like the CW can only do so much with a full 25 episode season and a CW budget, right?
I feel like they would benefit a lot by cutting it down to like 15 episodes. I think their stories would be tighter. They wouldn't suffer from the CW plague of unnecessary drama.
They also get like the villain of the week problem.
Yeah, and they don't need that. That works for Supernatural. The fangirls
It worked on Smallville, kind of.
The fangirls keep those shows going, and
I think it worked early on for Arrow when it was the show and it didn't have this massive universe of stuff going on. But now it's too hard to keep up on everything. Like I like the way that Star Trek's doing it with it had a 15 episode season 1 for Discovery, season 2 is 14 episodes. The Picard show is going to be 10 episodes for its season. It's very easy. It's very Netflix style, right? Like you can go through and watch that in a weekend if you want to.
Yeah.
But a season of Arrow or a season of Flash, I mean, it's 25-ish hours a piece for a season.
And really there's about 3 minutes of each episode that are actually part of the overarching story.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you add the fact that you've got Supergirl's sometimes involved, and Legends of Tomorrow is sometimes involved, and Batwoman's getting her own show, and then there's Black Lightning off on his own. I mean, that's 5 shows that you have to keep up on. That's it's over 100 episodes.
Which is why I think if you cut it down to 15 episodes, you could do a spring show, 2 of them going at the same time, 2 summer shows going at the same time, 2 fall shows going at the same time. Take the winter off.
Yeah, that's the way they should do it. But right now we're kind of in a space where we're getting so many different shows across different platforms, now with the DC TV shows and the CW shows, and so really you guys don't watch Arrow and Flash and Legends anymore really because you don't have time. There's Supergirl or any of those because
and then you still have Gotham finishing up.
I'm still watching Gotham and I'm caught up on almost every CW show. I don't watch Supergirl anymore, which is sad, but I don't. And Black Lightning I never watched, but...
Well, and then on top of that, we have Watchmen's coming down the pipe, and that's also a DC property on another channel. That'll be HBO, right? So it's just very difficult to keep up.
You're going to subscribe to HBO to watch the final season of Game of Thrones, aren't you?
Maybe. I'm a couple seasons behind now because you don't watch it, so it's difficult for me to keep up with it. So we'll see.
That's what you could be watching while I'm not here, not Bob's Burgers.
Yeah, Derek, get your shit together.
I only have to pay like 40 to 50% attention to a half-hour cartoon versus like Game of Thrones. I feel like I need. You
really
can
more, like, zone out on a cartoon.
60-70% interest in Game of Thrones. I can't do a whole. I can't like work and watch Game of Thrones. I can work with
Midnight Pearl is asking about Watchmen on HBO. Yes, they're doing a Watchmen series.
Yes, it's a sequel to the graphic novel.
Jeremy Irons is playing Ozymandias.
So
better casting than the movie.
Yeah.
Matthew Good was the weakest part of that.
It wasn't even his fault though, really. It's just they cast an evil-looking person as the person that we're supposed to be surprised when he's the bad guy.
Yeah.
No, it was definitely not surprising. But this is a sequel to the graphic novel, not the film. Not that there's a whole lot of differences,
other than the entire ending.
There are differences.
Yeah.
I would imagine it means that Rorschach's dead.
Well, that's a bummer.
Well, yeah, he's dead.
Did you guys not think
No,
of
I didn't. I hadn't
thought
gone through. It's been a long time since I've read the graphic novel. I've watched the movie more recently. So.
Still not.
I mean, Night Owl's always my favorite character, so as long as he's around, I'm good with it.
Now, since it's a sequel to the comic book, do you think they'll have him and
Silk Spectre.
Lori be
Silk Spectre 2?
Yeah, be blondes because they're in witness protection.
I don't know. Maybe.
Right.
Be interesting.
Oh well.
I don't know how they'll stick to the source material, but
this is supposed to kind of be its own thing.
There isn't source material for this, I don't think. Is there? I mean, I know that Watchmen has a big part in the current DC comics.
It's not following.
But it's not this.
No, it's not following.
I saw a panel from that, and I'm like, what is Dr. Manhattan doing here?
There was some small individual comics that took place in between the Minutemen and the Watchmen, featuring like lore.
But not after.
Yeah, no, there's
This is new territory, and the DC stuff. So when DC went through
Convergence.
yeah, Convergence, they decided to make not just all of DC canon, but also bring in anything tangential to it, which included Watchmen and basically
Vertigo, like all the
they haven't done too
properties.
much of that yet, but they basically made Dr. Manhattan like the controller of the universe.
Yeah, and just recently the Justice League Dark is running into him in the comic books, so
I mean,
be sure to look for that.
Sandman's a big Vertigo title,
Mm-hmm.
but you know, Death is a much bigger part of the DC universe now, even though Sandman's not. And
Yeah,
you know, Lucifer comes from the Sandman comics, and Lucifer's
that's a good point.
now on. It got saved by Hulu. Is that
I forgot that's another show on another streaming platform.
It's really good. I like Lucifer. Started watching it a while back.
Oh yeah, it's definitely not a quality thing. It's just there you go. Now you need Hulu too, to keep up. And
I will.
Well, if you didn't already have Hulu, then come on.
no, but I mean it's just
Shit,
another platform, right? In order to watch everything DC, you have to have CW, CBS, or CW, Fox, Hulu, and then soon HBO and DC Universe.
What do you need Fox for?
Gotham.
Gotham's on Hulu.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it gets released the very next day, so you don't have to worry about it.
CW also, those shows go on to
I know,
CW Network for free, and you can get them on Netflix and Hulu, I think.
You can watch them on the CW app without cable.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I thought you
That's how I
you
watch
had
them.
to verify
I don't have cable.
Okay.
No.
All right, so let's kind of talk about the Shazam trailer. That's the biggest news.
Let's talk about the Shazam trailer.
ShazamGate.
That was such a fun trailer. I really liked it.
Yeah, I think it was a good, it was really good for the mass audience that doesn't know anything about the character. I think that it's going to draw people in. Kids are going to think it's great, and adults are going to go, this looks pretty fun. None of the jokes fell flat.
Nope.
Everything hit. Zachary Levi is a treasure and the perfect casting. And I didn't know him at first, but now having seen these trailers, his facial expressions are dead on as a kid, like trying to be an adult, even though he looks like exactly like an adult.
Yeah.
The scene where he asked for the beer, your finest beer, and he's like so proud of himself. I can't wait to see it in a full feature length format. I mean, it's like, I'm very excited.
The Captain Sparkle Fingers joke I found particularly funny because they can't call him Captain Marvel,
Right?
But they're not going to totally ignore that. So.
Yeah, Captain Sparkle Fingers. No, that's not it. Yeah, that's so great. You didn't get any real hints to the family. You didn't get...
So the only nod is that if you've paid attention to the toy releases, you know that's his foster family.
Right.
That's
and the
it.
casting, if you look at like the side-by-side for the foster kids and what they look like in the comic books, they did a really great job casting. Everybody looks dead on to their comic counterparts. And the great thing about the Shazam family is that you get a Latino boy, you get a black girl, you get a handicapped kid, you get I think there's an Asian, I don't know what.
Asian woman.
Yeah. No,
she's
it's
like
a boy.
17, 18. I thought.
No, it's a boy.
There's that Mary Marvel.
Oh, Mary Marvel also, but there's a boy that wears gray. I can't remember his name.
Yeah.
When he gets into the suit, but
there's a lot there. I mean, this character's looked over a lot. It's weird to think that he was more successful than Superman at one point. And that's how he was bought by DC. But there's a lot of stuff in that lore that they can pull from. I mean, they could they could basically make their own little universe of just Shazam stuff if they really wanted to. And there's not going to be a whole lot of expectation because the average person has no clue.
But how great is it going to be for all these kids that go and see it and they're like, holy crap, there's a kid that looks like me.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know. You go into Black Panther knowing, it's going to take place in Africa, But in this, it looks like another white guy as the superhero, but he's... granted, the white guy is giving the powers to these other kids. But
that was the whole point of Shazam to begin with, was to make kids feel like superheroes themselves. And that's why Shazam started outselling Superman for a while.
Yeah. More relatable.
Comic books are for kids.
But DC bought them up and bankrupted them.
Meh. Details.
Right.
But yeah, the trailer looks great. Savannah looks cool. Yeah, I mean, at this point, people were like, "You didn't give us much new footage." It's like, guys, just
Do you need
Is
it?
that the complaint, really? Like, we're not
movie's
giving
out in a
away
month.
enough of the movie?
Yeah, like let's wait. Like
Marvel is doing the same thing with Endgame. We've gotten, all the footage we've gotten is from the first, like, 15 minutes of the film.
Absolutely.
And I appreciated that promise because I hate when movies spoil themselves in the trailer because you can't avoid that material. It's just going to be out there and it happens all the time. And I know that like for the Godzilla movie from 2014, people were upset because, Bryan Cranston, spoiler alert, it's only in the first 20 minutes of the film. And the trailer certainly made him look like a bigger part of the film. But that also allowed them to hide essentially the second and third acts of this movie.
Yeah.
So you had no clue what was actually going to happen. And I appreciated being surprised for a change. So I don't even want to see another Endgame trailer. I don't want to see another Captain Marvel or Shazam trailer. I want to go in knowing what I know now and be surprised by everything else.
Yeah, how great would it have been, though, if the toy releases hadn't spoiled the Shazam family?
Yeah.
There is a small chance that they still may not, because the toys are based off of initial concept art. They had
there
to
were
have put
toys.
those.
There were toys for Infinity War that weren't, the Hulk coming out of the suit and
Yeah.
stuff, that weren't actually in the movie.
Well, Lex in his mech suit was a BVS toy that obviously isn't in the film. Maybe
See,
that's in
now
the
I'll be
super
disappointed
ultra
if they
cut,
aren't in the film because I've seen the costumes. I'm like, oh man.
But if they're not, it just means that maybe they will be next time.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
Like there's just it's something else to be excited about.
It does seem weird that they were able to hide the fact that they are casting like 5 adult actors as superheroes
Unless they
and
did.
nobody leaked it.
I don't think they did.
I'm pretty sure that they did, but
I don't know. I really like that's the thing, right? Is toys don't always tell you the whole story, and maybe DC is has learned some tricks. I mean, what Marvel did with Infinity Wars trailers, like some people could call it being dishonest, but they really did hide what was happening in the Infinity War movie for the better, right? It was some interesting stuff that scenes that straight up don't exist in that movie, not deleted scenes, straight up scenes that don't happen.
Yeah.
Just tiny things like one
They've
of the
had to
Infinity
get that
Stones missing from the
creative.
gauntlet.
The fact that like most of the actors filmed a dusting scene, there was only a few that didn't. Like Karen Gillan didn't, and Denai Guerrera didn't. But all the original 6, they ended up doing it. So
yeah.
like they just used what they used, and they all had to go into the movie and see who died and who didn't anyway.
So, I mean, in this case, maybe DC's learned to be secretive in their own way about, their casting and things of that nature. And like, I do miss being surprised by an actor in a movie. It happens so infrequently now.
Will you be surprised if the adult family is in there?
I will be. I will be more surprised if they are in it than if they're not in it.
Gotcha.
That would be more surprising at this point, right? But like in 2018, I think the most shocking like casting thing in a film while I was watching it was Mike Myers in Bohemian Rhapsody.
That's true. I was surprised to see that. And even then, like, I see his name pop up in the credits at the beginning, and I'm waiting for it the entire time.
Heck is Mike Myers? Other DC news: Will Smith not coming back for Suicide Squad 2.
Right. Yeah. It was a scheduling problem, it turns out. Well, I mean, it could be. He's doing Bad Boys for Life. He's doing Gemini Man, and he's also apparently now
doing Bright 2.
On top of that, though, he's playing Serena Williams' father in a biopic.
I saw that, but he's not black enough, according to the internet. Did you see that whole controversy?
Because his skin isn't dark enough?
Yeah, they said his skin isn't
Oh my
dark
God.
enough.
Can we just...
All right.
Just...
How do you feel about the no Deadshot in Suicide Squad 2? Because I know you love Will Smith, and obviously you thought he was a highlight.
I mean, it's disappointing that like my favorite actor won't be in the movie, but maybe it's for the best because this allows them to focus on other characters a little bit more and just have Margot as the lead instead of trying to split 2 A-list actors.
Oh, the whole point of Suicide Squad is to have an ever-changing team because A, they keep dying, or B, they get released because they've put in enough time.
Right.
So a lot of people think now's a good opportunity to add in Deathstroke. Let's...
He's a little bit of a powerful guy to be on the Suicide Squad. Like,
But
he's
he
a
has superpowers,
pretty big tier.
I mean-
No, but like in terms of villains in the DC universe, he's a pretty like.
My thing
out
is,
there.
like, he never gets caught. He never really gets thrown
That
in
too.
jail. He always escapes.
That's his whole thing. Is he's such a good
But-
tactician.
But think about real world for a minute. The state of the DCEU. They've basically lost an opportunity for Joe's Deathstroke to be in a film. This would be an opportunity to salvage that character.
Yeah. That's what I think. I think that's the best way to do it. But or you add him to the DC Universe TV, and he gets put in the Titan show.
And he has done television.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's where he started.
That would actually be
really.
pretty cool. I'd be pretty excited for that.
So
Since he's a Titans villain,
Yeah.
I mean...
Either way, I think it'd be a lot of fun.
We could
I would have
him and put him in the Batman, but I don't see that happening.
No.
Not unless they get Marvel's de-aging technology.
I would have fun with him in either property. I just think
Sure.
it's a damn waste to make him go through all that for one cameo.
I wouldn't be upset about him being in Suicide Squad. It just, as a DC fan, it feels like he's batting with like little leaguers.
He could be the villain. In a
Yeah,
Suicide
that would.
Squad movie.
I'd be in for that for sure.
Interesting.
Right? Like, that could be cool. Like, either way, Joe Manganiello looked awesome in that shot. I really like him as an actor. I enjoy the stuff that I've seen him in. I want to see that character, that version of that character. So whatever that takes, whether it's, him in Titans or he's the villain in Suicide Squad, I don't care. I want to see him.
Yeah.
No, I definitely agree.
All right, so not a lot of other news. Poor Luke Perry passed away after a really bad stroke.
Sad.
He had the stroke on Friday, and by Monday morning he passed away. So he was really young, 52. Strokes are due to blood pressure. Get that under control, people.
Yeah, I mean, there are other causes, but
That's the highest leading cause in America.
it's really sad. Like, at that age, that's a real bummer.
The worst part is like on Thursday they announced a 90210 reunion, a miniseries, and he was going to be a part of it.
Yeah.
Hopefully TBS does a marathon of Fifth Element.
That'd be cool.
Everybody's just spoken out. Everyone's, pretty broken up about it. And, he seemed like a pretty beloved guy. Just personally, obviously I don't know him.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, if you lived through the 90s, he was a pretty big staple of the 90s.
Like 2010, the Gen Z kids are tweeting about how they loved him on Riverdale. So, I mean, he's still affecting people and fandoms. The Riverdale fans are pretty intense.
Yeah, they actually halted production.
Yeah.
In the middle of the season to.
Was he currently on the
Yeah.
show?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
He
So they have to
plays,
rewrite something.
He plays Archie's dad, and he's in almost every episode.
Like, he's a fairly main character, definitely like a B level character on the show.
Interesting.
And so I know that's gotta be pretty rough.
The worst part is they started off season 2. At the end of season 1, he had been shot in the diner, so they're gonna have to kill him off. But like they just did that scare a little while ago, so
I mean, maybe they could pull there was a blood clot that was likely
who
caused by
knows?
the injury kind of thing. Like, that happens. Like that. I mean, that's just mechanically what to do. It's sad.
yeah.
All
Right,
on
well,
that
on that
lovely high
somber
note,
note, we're going to take a quick break. We will be back with our pitches.
Hey everyone, this is Greg from Red Shirts and Runabouts. We're the resident Star Trek podcast as part of the Heroes Podcast Network group. If you love Star Trek and things science fiction, we're definitely the show for you. Join us every Thursday as we talk about Star Trek Discovery, the new Picard show, and other ongoing content and new creations from the Star Trek universe. If you want to find us, search Red Shirts and Runabouts podcast on Apple and Google Play. And if you want to interact with us as a host, you can find us at Red Shirts Pod on Twitter.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Hope you enjoyed that lovely break. Get to hear Greg's sweet, sweet voice. So we are going to pitch some Disney, Fox, MCU movies. Basically, we are figuring out ways to incorporate the old Fox properties that Marvel has either not incorporated yet, or they were part of the Netflix and now have gone idle and will be used in a couple of years.
Yeah, so Ray divvied up the different groups to us. So Ray assigned herself the X-Men.
I did.
She is the resident mutant expert. Ryan got the Marvel Knights.
Ish.
Ish.
Yeah, I changed it up a little bit.
Okay,
That's
so we'll
fine.
find out what that
Whatever.
means. But historically, that would include characters like Ghost Rider and Blade and Daredevil.
And Punisher and Elektra. The Marvel Knights were those 5 characters.
And I got the Fantastic Four, who I'm sure everybody listening is very excited to have another movie depicting.
As long as it's not another origin story, I think we're fine. Like,
We know Midnight Pearl in chat is very excited for your pitch specifically.
chomping at the bit.
So with that in mind, I'm not going to go first because I want the anticipation to grow.
You want to keep people listening.
He has to sit here and continue Googling.
Right, exactly.
I have my cast and I have my idea. I just going to let one of you guys go first. We're going to put mine in the middle, right? So you know how you have the compliment sandwich, right? You say something nice, then you say the criticism, and you finish with something nice.
You're
So
the
yours is criticism? That sounds about right.
So that's what
You're
we're going
the
to do.
insult.
This is the pitch sandwich. So
I mean, I guess I could go first then, because Ryan's looking at me like...
I mean, I usually go first, so
Yeah.
sure, let's mix it up and
Okay.
have you be first.
All right, so the storyline I wanted to do was House of M, basically because I could have a giant crossover cast and incorporate a lot of people from the Avengers, a lot of people from the X-Men. The goal was to work with what we know are the new Avengers. Today there was a lot of sources reporting that Robert Downey Jr.'s last film will be Endgame. And Chris Evans' last film is Endgame. So I'm moving beyond that for people who have new contracts. We know have a few more movies left in their contracts, that kind of thing, as well as brand new people, brand new cast. So
do you think Tony and Cap are going to like ride off into the sunset on horseback?
yeah,
Which one's going to be in the front of the horse and which one's going to be in the
Oh, they're
back?
sharing a horse.
No, I think Cap and Bucky riding off to the sunset would be the real...
They would share a horse.
Yes, they would certainly share a horse. But which one's the front, which one's the back? That depends on whose fan fiction you're reading.
No, Cap's on the
Gonna be
front.
in the
Is the
front.
front of
Yeah,
the horse.
obviously.
Yeah, that's pretty straightforward. If it was Falcon and Bucky, then I don't know. I'm not
Plus,
sure.
the idea of the metal arm coming around is much more seductive.
see, I want to watch
The sun glinting.
the Ghost like
Rachel
play
started
scene
drawing this.
with the Winter Soldier arm.
If you're on our audio, Rachel's actually drawing fan art of this right now.
Like, I'm usually not a Cap Bucky shipper, but like if we're gonna reenact old westerns with them and like
You're okay with it?
1980s love scenes, like all
Like
of a
Ghost?
sudden
Yeah.
or Top Gun's like Take My Breath Away, like
No,
can
the
we do that
volleyball
one?
scene. Come on.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
But then Bucky doesn't
is-
even spike with his metal arm. He
is-
spikes with the other arm for some reason.
This is taking a turn. We're done, guys.
Okay, that's what we're fan casting.
Episode over.
This was Marvel / fiction pitching. Right?
It's just me.
Off the rails.
Oh my god. What just happened?
You know what just happened, Rachel. You've written about it before.
Okay, so
House of
current
M.
MCU characters. We're going to start off with the obvious one. Wanda Maximoff, played by Elizabeth Olsen. Wilson? Vision, played by Paul Bettany.
/ Wilson.
Vision. Tom Hanks just wanders on
No,
set.
I was thinking
His
of Home
head floats
Improvement.
away.
Like you just see his face behind no fence.
Yes.
Oh my
We're
god.
going with
You just
so
feel like
many
the mind-
good ideas.
Guys, my pitch is really long. I went
I'm
on.
sorry.
Okay, mine is not that long, so we'll let you do what you gotta do.
Vision, Paul Bettany, Quicksilver, Aaron Tyler Johnson, Doctor Strange, Benedict Cumberbatch, Nick Fury, Samuel L. Jackson.
Isn't Quicksilver dead?
Captain Marvel, Brie Larson, Black Panther, Chadwick Boseman, Spider-Man, Tom Holland. Now, I did put in Luke Cage and Jessica Jones.
I don't know if I agree with your Tom Holland casting for Spider-Man.
Who's not in your movie?
I told you it was a big crossover.
It's an Avengers movie.
Oh my god. I told you that earlier today
did.
and you were like, that's great.
He wasn't listening.
I'm excited for the pitch. It's a lot of people.
For Luke Cage, I recast as Idris Elba. For Jessica Jones, I recast as Mila Jovovich. I wanted two people fairly close in age, and since Idris Elba is in his 40s,
The
I wanted
Squirrel
a
Girl,
woman.
their babysitter.
Squirrel Girl does not make an appearance.
But
in
is
my
she
movie.
their babysitter?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh my god.
That's all I need to know. I'm in now.
New X-Men characters. So I had Wolverine. I cast Aiden Turner from Being Human, and he played one of the dwarf twins, Feely or Keely. He played the brown-haired, attractive one that fell in love with Tariel.
Weren't they both the hot twins? I feel
Yeah,
like
they were really hot dwarves. They were hot dwarves.
Okay.
Emma Frost, played by Natalie Dormer.
Ooh.
Magneto, not the Eric Lyncher one, the Max Eisenhardt, played by Jason Isaacs, my favorite casting, and I need this to happen.
He kind of looks like a grown-up Michael Fassbender.
Professor X.
Like Michael Fassbender doesn't look like a grown-up Michael Fassbender.
It's the stages of like Pokemon evolution, you know?
Wrong. Wrong. We're done. It's Michael Fassbender, Jason Isaacs, and
Ian McKellen.
thank you.
Yes! I'm so happy with this. Okay.
Professor X is played by Gary Oldman. Cyclops is played by Joel Edgerton, and Polaris is played by Blake Lively.
Fascinating.
So, the movie opens. Wolverine wakes up and remembers his entire life, something he hasn't done since the 80s. He knows something is wrong. He is in bed with a woman with green hair, Polaris. He knows her name is Lorna and they met a few days ago at a bar. Only he knows he's never met this woman before.
Did he have sex with her?
Yes.
Okay.
He has conflicting memories of her, one where he doesn't know her and one where he does. He believes that he has been altered in some way. He panics and leaves looking for Charles Xavier. Captain Marvel is the most popular superhero in the world after the defeat of Thanos. She has become the leader of the New Avengers, a title the public gave. She is the official enhanced ambassador to the UN. Spider-Man is a ceremonial hero. He is the poster boy for superhero merchandise similar to the Into the Universe Spider-Man. He is married to MJ and she is pregnant with their first kid.
Aww.
Wanda and Vision are married with 2 kids. They live a retired quiet life away from the spotlight and action. Quicksilver is a member of the Avengers along with his sister Lorna, who goes by Polaris.
What does it need to?
Just wait. A charming man who goes by Magneto invites the world's mutants to live on the island of Genosha through advertisements in multiple countries. He bought the island and made it a habitable area to shelter anyone facing persecution from their families. This is the most public of all the mutant communities.
That's the most I've ever seen you struggle with a word, by the way.
I do that all the time.
Do you? Yes, you don't
Habitable.
read on the podcast much, so.
That's true.
Habitable.
Okay, Derek, you don't need to.
Habitable is fine too.
Knockwaddle.
It's like when people say
Axolotl.
comparable when it's comparable.
Knockwaddle.
Emma Frost and Cyclops run a mutant school on Genosha. Emma Frost handles training mutants to control their powers, while Cyclops handles academics. Multiple well-known mutants work there, including Beast, Storm, and Iceman. Wolverine looks around at this new world, at all the small changes, and seeks out an old friend who has now joined the New Avengers. He finds Luke Cage and Jessica Jones, now married with a kid. The child is a mutant around the age of 7 with psychic abilities. Wolverine explains to Luke what is going on, that things seem right on the surface, but he knows they've been tampered with. Luke tells Wolverine that he doesn't remember his old life, but believes him because some weird things have been happening with his kid. Their little girl has been saying things that are completely wrong. Why isn't Quicksilver dead? He was killed by Ultron. Spider-Man isn't married. What's going on? Luke and Wolverine decide to bring it to Captain Marvel's attention. Captain Marvel involves the current Avengers team with this problem. The team is Black Panther, Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, Polaris, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and Quicksilver. Doctor Strange can tell that there are mystical changes in the world. He is able to pinpoint Genosha as the current source. The team heads there. Genosha is very quickly determined to be a red herring. They are met by the man Magneto and Emma Frost with contempt. There's no true source of mysticism coming from the island. The New Avengers end up being banned from Genosha. Getting help from Wong, Doctor Strange is able to discover that this world is an alternate dimension created by Wanda Maximoff as a reaction to Vision and Quicksilver dying. She has created a world where she and her friends are better off in the best possible way. She gave her the sister that her parents had miscarried a life, and her the family that she's always wanted. After much deliberation, it is decided that this world should be destroyed to let the old one be restored. Quicksilver is at peace with his inevitable death, but Polaris is not. She sneaks away to meet up with Wanda ahead of time. Doctor Strange locates Wanda in an abandoned school in New York. Spider-Man elects to see MJ once more as his wife before it's undone and does not go to New York with the rest of the Avengers. They find Wanda is being kept in a coma by Charles Xavier. Polaris and Professor X are able to fight off the Avengers for a time, and Quicksilver, Jessica Jones, and Luke Cage begin to help them. Quicksilver doesn't want any harm to come to Wanda, and Jones and Cage realize they would lose their little girl. It takes Wolverine eventually being able to convince Charles to let her go. Wanda awakes, terrified, angry. The illusion of the alternate reality is broken. Quicksilver and Polaris disappear. Luke Cage and Jessica Jones look at their hands to see no wedding rings. Wanda screams and realities alter right before their eyes, kind of like all the different universes in Into the Spider-Verse, kind of like the Dormammu and maybe Quantum Realm, like all these things just kind of flash, and there's like this spastic cinematic event. Her powers are completely out of control. Doctor Strange and Professor X work together to subdue her and control her powers. She looks at them and utters the words, "No more heroes," instead of "no more mutants." Multiple enhanced people around the world lose their powers, including Captain Marvel and Magneto. That's the end. That's the end of the movie.
So it's like this thing was all a dream at the very end, basically.
Well, that's how the story plays out. I had to change a lot of characters who are either dead or non-existent, but yeah, that's how it plays out. Wanda's like that powerful.
That's intense.
Yeah.
So that's like that's a post-Endgame film.
Yeah. This would take place 2020. Yeah.
Okay.
It would release then.
That was an intense level of detail.
House of M is one of my favorites, and because it incorporates the Avengers as well as X-Men, I thought it would be a good bridge. After this, with there being a reduced amount of heroes, it could mean a smaller focus on a small X-Men team. Instead of feeling the need to have like 15, 20 people in an X-Men movie, you could go back to the way Bryan Singer did the first one, where it was only 5 or 6.
Yeah.
So, I was trying to think through the steps logically, and
No, that's good. That's a lot. That'd be a big film.
Yeah, it sounds like an interesting storyline. It might be a little much for a film, I feel like. It would have to be like a 2-parter. You'd have to make it into Harry Potter.
Well, because you have
at the very end of
to.
the last movie.
You have to have the sequel that resolves everyone losing their powers.
No, you
but it doesn't need to be that way. Like, certain people will get their powers back just like they did in the comics, but certain people will also just be normal for the rest of their lives. So.
Then you never see them again.
Right,
They
but
can't
like-
make money on those toys anymore.
But like you said, like Captain Marvel lost her powers.
So
right?
the next film would be like her Captain Marvel 2, I guess,
The
would
second
be
origin story.
yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. All right.
There would definitely be connections. That's my whole point, is I didn't want it to be a one and done. I wanted it to bridge the gap, and the things that happen in this movie are not completely undone by the end, that they have lasting effects on the world. I think that's a huge problem with the MCU. Even Civil War shows that some of them are, best buddies again. There's no reason Iron Man should want to talk to Black Widow by the end of Civil War, but he does. They're friends, so whatever, right?
Okay. Fair enough. So I guess I'm up next. Mine is significantly less detailed than that.
So is mine. It's okay.
Mine's actually not based on any real story in Fantastic Four.
I actually think that might be a
So
good bet.
you think? Okay.
I do.
All right, so let me just pull up my cast list here. Okay, so I have kind of a small cast list. I really just cast the Fantastic Four and the villain.
That's great.
Now, there's one little asterisk stipulation in order for my movie to work, and it's because, again, ownership rights. The villain is actually owned by Universal still, which is complicated and confusing. But can you guess who it is? You smirked.
No,
Oh,
go for it.
So I wanted to bring in Namor, the Submariner,
I love it.
and his movie rights are still retained by Universal for some reason. So
That's fucked up.
which is really frustrating.
So they have the Hulk and they have no more, and that's it?
I think they have a couple other like one-off characters, but yeah, I mean basically
So you're just going to try and ride the Aquaman hype train right now. Is that what it is?
that's exactly what it is. Yeah. So
Okay.
that's what the companies do, right? Somebody does something successful, and theoretically you would learn from that and do something similar. If not.
Except Namor's not charming. He's just a flat-out dick.
Well, no, he's
Right.
nothing really personality-wise
Yeah.
like Aquaman. Aquaman. It's just his look somewhat in power set is similar.
Well, he comes
origin
from
is very similar.
Atlantis,
Yeah.
like-
So in this case, he is he's the villain in this one, and he in history goes back and forth quite a bit. But back during the original run with that Stan Lee and Jack Kirby did, he had some villain type roles against the Fantastic Four once or twice. He's usually an anti-hero, but I actually thought this would be an interesting kind of encapsulated film, so there aren't a lot of connections to other things, but it's caused by Age of Ultron.
Okay.
Okay, so it's not an origin story. The Fantastic Four already have their powers. This takes place after Endgame. My thought process was that now that after Endgame, a lot of people are probably going to die. We're assuming, right? That some people are not going to make it through. It's probably just not.
I'm gonna die.
That's sad.
Spoiler.
Okay, well, well.
I didn't say when after Endgame, but
Just
after
sometime
Endgame.
after Endgame. Fantastic. Okay. Anyway, so the Fantastic Four are basically acting like a new superhero group to kind of step in and fill the shoes of a lot of the lost heroes, right? There's kind of that power vacuum now at this point. So Age of Ultron, refreshing everybody's memory, a giant city, Sokovia, is picked up and dropped, and my thought process was that a lot of the debris caused from that would have gone into the oceans and caused a lot of damage and maybe even impacted Atlantis itself. And that would, in the comic books, really piss off Namor. That happens many times in the comic books where that's when he becomes the villain, is when somebody screws with the oceans, right? That's kind of the play.
I like it. I'm good with
He's
that.
kind of the ocean master, really.
Yes, exactly. There a lot of arguments, are made about the comparisons between Namor and Aquaman. Aquaman has clearly become the more popular of the two over the years, but Namor was first. Even if Atlantis wasn't named first in Namor, it was named first in Aquaman. But the characters are very, very similar. They just were kept by the two companies. So basically, he sees, an opportunity now for Atlantis to have revenge in the wake of Endgame, again, because a lot of the heroes are now gone. The world is still in a lot of disarray. Yes, undoing what Thanos did, obviously made things better than after Infinity War, but it wasn't just a perfect reset button. And I really, really hope that that's true, because if it's just a perfect reset button, that's going to be really disappointing. So, he takes this opportunity to kind of raise an army of Atlantis and attack, right? That was our dog. She's keeping us company today. And so I guess I should provide some casting information here. So I tried to be a little bit unique with my casting and kind of provide some different takes on some of these characters, because the most recent Fantastic Four film may have been a flop, but I appreciated that they were trying some different things.
Yeah.
And so I don't think that was the problem, right? I mean, obviously, Michael B. Jordan's a fantastic actor in everything else he's ever been in.
Same with Miles Teller.
So,
it's pretty good.
So for Namor, I actually picked John Boyega. No responses. Okay.
No, I'm good with it.
Okay. So for Reed Richards, I wanted to play with the ages a little bit and kind of make him, because he's portrayed a lot with like the gray hair and everything like that. So I wanted to kind of make him an appropriate age. So I actually picked John Hamm as Reed Richards.
I like that.
So I was just kind of picturing that, and so for Sue Storm, I want you guys to pick. I have two choices, and I can't decide between
Emily
the two of them.
Blunt.
It's a good one.
Sorry.
That is a good one. I actually didn't consider her. That's a good pick.
Thank you. I am really
Jessica Alba.
That's a missed opportunity. I like that.
With blue contacts.
No, so I was thinking either Kate Beckinsale or Lena Headey.
I don't know who Lena Headey is, so I'm going to pick
Cersei
Kate Beckinsale.
Lannister.
She's been in a lot of other things. But
He's watching Game of Thrones, like...
Probably Cersei Lannister of those two. Kate Beckinsale I love, but she doesn't really have the look of Sue Storm for me.
She doesn't. My thought process...
She was just recently in Pete Davidson's mouth. I don't need her acting for a while. Like, I don't want to see her anymore.
My thought process was that Kate Beckinsale obviously has the experience to do an action style film, right, with all the Underworld movies and other things that she's done. So she could do the physicality that could be required in a role like that. But Lena obviously is a fantastic actor and could pull off the role really well. She just doesn't have the same level of experience with that type of like action-oriented role.
That's not true. She was on the Terminator TV show.
Yeah.
She did a lot of action.
Okay. I mean, that's true.
And she was in the Judge Dredd movie, the newer one.
Oh, yeah, she was the villain.
Yeah.
I forgot that she was in that.
Yeah, so
great.
she does action.
So she's actually the better
It was
choice.
a huge role.
Yeah.
I forgot she was in Dredd. So she's probably the better choice. So Lena Headey then for Sue Storm. Johnny Storm, I'm taking a real
Chris
chance.
His contract is up to Captain America, so...
I want them both to be in a movie like where Chris Evans and Michael B. Jordan, like Killmonger and Cap meet up and they're like, wait, do I...
You're pretty hot.
More slash fiction.
That's right.
Maybe they meet like camping and there's like a little campfire.
Now you're talking. I like where this is going. Can
Yeah.
Cap and Bucky join him?
Yes.
All right. So
Should we go to my bunk?
I'm kind of taking a chance
That was
here
Cap
on
saying
Johnny
that to
Storm,
Bucky.
but I think from a personality standpoint, he could kind of pull off a little bit of cheesiness that I think the film would need to kind of balance off some of the more serious actors here. And so I'm going with Zac Efron.
All right. That's fine.
I think he's got the build for it. I think he's got the personality for it. And
He
so
proves his acting like year after year. He gets more
does.
intense projects and he's just...
Have you seen Bad Grandpa? He was brilliant.
okay. Okay, so for Ben Grimm, who is the Thing, this is kind of my big outside the box, but I wanted somebody who was very physical, but would obviously be doing mocap in...
Terry Crews.
Yeah.
For who?
Terry Crews.
For who?
The Thing.
The Thing?
Yeah. Because...
I love it.
I'm trying to think of his voice coming out of a rock mouth.
Well, think of the Old Spice commercials.
Okay.
Right, where he's just like really loud
Yelling
and intense
all
all
the
the time, right? And I think that would be the
So
thing.
he's
at
not
this
even
point.
close to the comic Ben Grimm. He's...
I want him to be loud.
You want to be
and
Terry
intense.
Crews as a rock.
I mean, basically, yeah.
Okay.
You want him to be Terry Jeffords. Like,
Yeah, does he eat yogurt?
How funny would that be? A scene where the giant rock guy's trying to eat yogurt with a little spoon.
I more want him to be talking in the third person.
Yeah.
Right, the thing likes yogurt, you know. Like, I think personality wise, Terry would just bring a lot of energy to the role. I think that what he's done recently with like Crackdown 3, for example, would be really good. Now Midnight Pearl has a point. He can't do his
They're pec muscles,
his
not
pec-
breast muscles.
Pec
peck
dancing.
jumping, his peck dancing that he does. He wouldn't be able to do that as the Thing, but maybe there could be some joke in there where the rocks kind of like shuffle around or something. I don't know. But I don't know.
This is getting worse and
It's-
worse
I
the
don't know.
longer
I
this
would tell
goes.
him to get a bra.
There you go. But
The Thing in a bra.
Yeah.
Okay.
anyway, so that's my cast for it. Like I said, this is not an origin story, so they already have their power. So you're never going to see Terry Crews,
Yeah.
right? I guess if you really wanted to throw in an Easter egg, there could be a photo somewhere of him. Of,
I like that.
The four of them before, or something like that. But he's going to be in mocap the entire time.
So you have the opportunity of bringing back Alicia Masters, who is wonderfully portrayed by Kerry Washington in Fantastic Four and Fantastic Four Rise of the Surfer. And because she was great as Ben Grimm's girlfriend. And,
It's an interesting idea.
The blind one?
yeah.
I kind of want to distance everything from the that's why
fair.
it's not an origin story.
Kerry Washington's
like,
amazing.
That's not.
That's where I knew her from, is because I watched those movies. I hadn't seen her in anything else. And so every time I see her, I'm like, oh, it's the blind chick from Fantastic Four.
my goal here was definitely to distance, right? So there's no origin story. There's no Doctor Doom. It's not even a stereotypical Fantastic Four villain, even though, of course, they went up against them more in their original run. Most people have forgotten that by now.
Right.
That was a long time ago. We're talking about the first 100-ish issues. And so I wanted to focus on something that had connections to the MCU. Right, so you could talk about Sokovia, you could talk about the Age of Ultron situation without having to bring in a bunch of Avengers. I don't want there to be a Nick Fury cameo or anything like that. I wanted this to be very standalone.
Is Doctor Doom going to cameo at the end?
No.
But it's going to be the one from the original Fantastic Four.
God.
Julian McMahon.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
He was awful.
No, thank
It was great. Perfect villain.
Go back to Nip Tuck.
But there's some fun cameo stuff you could do, right? They could get like, a delivery and the UPS guy is Doug Jones. You could do that.
Aww, I like that.
Most people would miss what that even is, so that'd be kind of cool.
Well, most people don't know who Doug Jones is outside of makeup.
True.
So.
Well, that's right. So that's a fun little cameo that he would probably agree to do because he doesn't have to get a bunch of
Even
prosthetics.
better, Lawrence Fishburne voices him.
Even better, he's a surfing delivery man.
All right. Or maybe he delivers a surfboard for Johnny.
There you go.
Johnny orders a surfboard.
That's adorable.
There you go.
Can you order I'm going to order a surfboard on Amazon.
Look, Amazon sells an all-electric go-kart that they really want me to buy. I'm sure you can get a surfboard.
I'm looking right now.
All right.
Don't forget to get board wax too. Sex wax. That's what they call it.
So Midnight Pearl suggested Ron Perlman as the thing, and I think that he's done Hellboy, and that was really fantastic, and I just kind of want to separate from anything else that's been done before, which is why my cast, none of them have been superheroes.
I could pay $200 right now and get a Wavestorm Classic 8-foot.
It probably doesn't qualify for 2-day Prime shipping, but...
It does. Delivered by Friday, March 8th.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Boom.
Usually big stuff like that is Prime shipping, but it's not usually 2-day Prime shipping. Anyway.
All right, so that's my pitch.
Amazon.com is not a sponsor. Yet.
That's my pitch. Something kind of different.
I like it. I'm actually a big fan of everything you did there.
Thank you. I worked hard on this one. I really did, because Fantastic Four is not a strong suit of mine, so I kind of went through a lot of top story arc lists and characters and to kind of come up with something a little bit unexpected.
So yeah, I just assigned it to you because of the small cast. I thought it would be...
She thought that's all you could handle.
Yeah, right.
I thought it was a good fit.
Instead, she gave me the characters I know the least about.
Oh my god.
No,
How dare you, Rachel?
Wait.
You ruined everything.
I worked hard on this. I thought that I did at least a halfway decent job.
You did.
There's no way it'd be any worse than the other 3 movies.
That's true.
Okay.
Okay.
Ryan, you're...
So, I didn't do my normal over-preparing
I
time.
did.
Rachel did that for me. So I didn't actually do Marvel Knights. I did Midnight Suns, which is the same thing. What?
Sorry, it's funny.
That's the name of the group
you're right.
in Marvel.
You're totally
and it's
right.
almost
So
the
tell
same
me.
group,
I know.
other than Daredevil. But I'm also doing it in Marvel 1602 style.
That's fantastic.
Because the
a lot
comic,
of steps.
the comic, not really. The comic wasn't that well received, but
It's upstairs.
I have it too.
What's it
it's
called?
one of
What's
the
this
few
called
under-
again?
Marvel 1602.
No.
Midnight Suns.
Midnight Suns. Thank you.
But Marvel 1602, if you're not familiar, was I can't remember who wrote it. Gaiman wrote it. Yeah. So I mean,
Neil
it's got
Gaiman.
big name attached to it. It was Marvel characters as if it was 1602 in medieval times. And so I thought that's really cool, and it would be a cool way to bring back some characters that are slightly varied. So, like Daredevil and Punisher. Since it's not Frank Castle and Matthew Murdock, it's actually Franklin Castle and Matthew Murdoch.
Is that Klingon? Like, what is?
No, it's Irish.
Yeah.
Matthew Murdoch.
Kapla.
Matthew Murdoch is a blind Irish minstrel.
Okay, all right.
It's true.
So yeah, I have an intro, but it's pretty basic. The movie opens with a fiery pillar shooting down from the sky. I know Rachel loves sky energy things.
I love sky beams.
A middle-aged man in sackcloth clothes sees the pillar not far from where he's tending to the horses, and he jumps on a horse, starts racing towards where he thinks the pillar struck. As he gets closer, he dismounts and sneaks quietly towards where he saw it strike. As he approaches, he sees a large demonic female figure encircled by 4 smaller demonic humanoid characters. Just as he gets close enough to make out what they're saying, he hears, "And we will end this world," and all the light in the world seems to disappear and the screen fades to black. And it's basically setting up the Midnight Suns origin storyline, which involves Lilith, who's like the queen demon, with Blackout, who's a Ghost Rider villain, Meat Market, Nakota, and Pilgrim.
Do you have the song Black Hole Sun playing at any point?
Blackout and Black Hole Sun are 2 different things, just because they have the word black in them.
No, but you like the light all going out.
Black Hole Sun is not
fading.
fading in at this point. No. I didn't do a lot of casting for mine because a lot of these have already been cast well. I would want to bring back John Bernthal for Franklin Castle. And I would want to bring back Charlie Cox as Matthew Murdoch. I'm sure he can do a pretty good Irish accent, right?
I have
Because
no
he's
idea.
English, so I mean, I don't know. It's all
I don't
the
think
same.
that those have to go together.
I
but-
also have Jonah Blaze instead of Johnny Blaze. He's okay. Franklin Castle in this universe is a decorated Knight of the Round Table.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Jonah Blaze is the King's Messenger. And I had him cast as Nikolaj Coster-Waldau, Jaime Lannister from Game of Thrones.
Oh, that's
I really
kinda
like
cool.
that casting.
Yeah.
And then we have Eric Brocard instead of Eric Brooks. He is the leader of the underground crime syndicate, The Blade. Also a vampire, but, you know.
Details.
Yeah. And I want him to be played by Mahershala Ali.
Oh, see, Ray suggested that earlier today, and I thought that was perfect casting. That's a great choice.
Yeah. I didn't really flesh out the story beyond that. It was mostly just, like, their own group already, and they have ties everywhere. You have one guy that's tied to the underground, you have one guy that's tied to the Knights of the Round Table.
Where does it take place?
England,
Okay.
wherever, sure. I mean, it doesn't really matter. It's
that's-
not really super important to the story.
Just asking. The 1602 comic book that was written by Gaiman took place in England, and then the spin-offs took place in Japan and
Yeah, I only
America
read the one
in
that was
1602.
England. The first one, I think, is what I read. But
So who's the villain?
the villain is Lilith. The
villain
character's
is
name
Lilith.
is
Oh, sorry.
Lilith.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you
She's like
cast
the
her?
queen. I didn't. I was thinking it has to be like a taller, imposing woman. I want it to be somebody that looks...
Charlize Theron.
No, I was thinking the Phasma.
Brienne?
Oh.
Yeah.
Brienne of Tarth.
Brienne of Tarth. Yeah.
Gwendolyn Christie.
Gwendolyn Christie. Yeah, because she's very tall and, you know, broad.
I like that.
She's a good actor. That'd be cool.
And it would give her a
She
chance.
doesn't get to do a lot of like sexy stuff, and Lilith
No,
is more
Lilith
sexy.
has some like... She has some very revealing costumes. So.
But she could also be like armored up. Who cares,
Sure.
right? Like who cares what Lilith
This is
wears?
like a medieval version, but I mean, demons are not going to be wearing like sackcloth and like,
Yeah.
you know, chainmail, probably. But I thought it would be cool if these guys all had their own group already, and that and I want them to like have to bring in King Arthur, Merlin, and the Knights of the Round Table, and have like, I want knights like fighting demons, and I want
love
Ghost
it.
Rider on a horse, like. You know, I loved that in the Ghost Rider Nicolas Cage movie.
Man.
Sam Elliott. That
Yeah.
scene was so amazing.
Like,
That
you could
scene.
talk shit on that movie, but I still have... that's one of my guilty pleasures, is that movie. I mean, I love Nicolas Cage, and then that scene with Sam Elliott is just great. And I
Yeah.
think, can you imagine that, like, but in, like, chainmail and, like...
That
I don't
movie
know.
had some great CGI. All the elementals that he ended up facing with Blackheart and Mephisto, like they were really cool to look at. They didn't have much character development. They didn't pose too big of threats for Ghost Rider, but
It was a different time.
they were good.
But yeah, that scene with Sam, that's the best scene in the movie, in my opinion.
Yeah,
But-
when they're
but
riding together, but then he has to leave at the last second to not... so
That
Nick
kind of
Cage has to
ruins
do
it for me, though, because basically he's just like, see ya.
I hated
So-
that. Like he said, I only have it left in me to do one more ride, so I'm going to use it for this montage instead of this fight. Like, how dare you?
I was like,
Clearly
Sam
you never
Elliott?
saw a
Oh,
Rocky
this-
movie, so...
I guess I could just cast Sam Elliott as Jonah Blaze. You know,
Oof.
he'd be a little old, but
I don't care.
I could still do it. I could still cast him as it. Yeah,
Ghost Rider's the Ghost Rider till he dies. Like,
I kind of pictured this as like more of a Netflix series than a movie, because I want to bring in like Marvel 1602 X-Men, Scotia Summerisle, Hal McCoy, and John Gray,
they were so good.
who's a woman pretending to be a man, so
yeah,
that she
she
isn't
wouldn't
like,
be a page.
yeah.
And be
and then the
educated.
four from the Fantastic.
Fantastic.
Captain Benjamin Grimm, Sir Richard Reed, Susan Storm, and John Storm.
Yeah.
I want to like have spin-offs for all these characters, and I think the idea of putting modern characters in medieval times is really cool. I like the DC characters when you see like Gotham by Gaslight and stuff
Yeah.
like that. They're different time periods. I always love that kind of stuff, and I feel like that would be a really cool series. It doesn't have to have continuity with the current Marvel universe.
No, I think it's a fun idea. I mean, that's part of what we loved so much about Noir Spider-Man. I mean, I know that's
Yeah.
not medieval times, but still, it's another era.
Sure, any
right?
time shift like that makes
Yeah.
it a whole nother twist on the character that you love, and I think that medieval is really hot right now with Game of Thrones, especially
That's
with
true.
these characters that are like pretty dark. A lot of them are dark characters. Plus, can you imagine like a blind Daredevil Irish minstrel that is like wearing leather, like medieval leather armor, and has like some sort of, I just think there's some cool costuming things you could do.
If I was going to role play it, I would not have picked Daredevil as a bard. He definitely would have been a rogue, but whatever.
He was in the book.
Yeah, no, you're totally right.
So
I mean, I imagine this would have to be on Hulu, not Disney Plus.
Right.
Right. This would be too much violence. That'd be tougher from a budgeting standpoint on Hulu, but that'd be really, really cool.
I mean, they do the Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah, but there's not a lot of like battles. you
That's
know?
true. I mean, I was talking about
That
bringing in
you know
Merlin
of.
and like.
Yeah, there's not a lot of special effects required. You know,
That's fine.
that's the thing. Like, yeah, sure, their costuming and set design is great, but that's all they have to worry about. You know. I don't know, maybe they could partner with Stars or Showtime or something.
I just think seeing Marvel characters work with Merlin and the Knights of the Round Table and stuff, that sounds super cool. And I just really had to take
awesome.
it there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just there's a lot of competition with Game of Thrones having its spinoffs and Amazon doing the Lord of the Rings show. If Disney and Marvel were to do their own thing of that style, they have to bring it. You know?
Well, I think that they probably would. I mean, it is the biggest entertainment company in the world. So.
Sure, yeah. I just, $100 million for the Lord of the Rings show. It's a lot of money for a TV show.
Yeah. I don't even think they would need to spend that on this, though. You already have the Marvel name attached to it.
Yeah.
And you have, pretty big name actors. So, I don't know. I think that it would be a really cool one and one they could do that would be very popular right now.
I'm with you.
Plus, they could bring back Charlie Cox and John Bernthal.
They could.
Please.
That is true.
We need them.
Truth.
All right. Anything else, guys?
No, those were our pitches. Let us know in the comments which one you liked. Would you fund any of these movies? You let us know. Let's see. So next week, we are reviewing Captain Marvel. We are seeing it this weekend. We are reviewing it next week. So go out, see the movie, join in on the conversation. We'd love to hear what you have to say.
For some reason, my theater only has was only showing 2 showings on Saturday and 2 showings on Sunday.
That's weird.
I'm pretty sure they're going to add more, but it sucks that I have to wait till Wednesday before to get it. Anyway, that's my small rant. They did this for Alita, too.
Yeah.
That's bothersome.
Yeah. Anyway.
They're pushing these movies in 3D as part of the
That's
problem.
what it is, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All right. So that's what we're doing, guys. We're seeing Captain Marvel. Join us next week. Review the movie with us. Or, don't. Whatever. I don't care. Guys, sign off. Give your handles. Do your thing.
I am the Star Trek dude. You can also find me on Red Shirts and Runabouts, the Star Trek podcast here on the Heroes Podcast Network.
I am Ryan from Buster Props. You can find me here and only here.
It's true. And I'm Siren Ray. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.
Don't forget to join us at Planet Comic-Con the last weekend in March. We will have a live panel on Sunday at 11 a.m. We will be ranking the MCU films, all of them including Captain Marvel, in a tournament style with the audience. So if you are somewhere near Kansas City around that time, please join us.
And you can join in every Tuesday night live on Twitch here at 8 p.m. to interact with the conversation, just like Midnight Pearl. Thank you very much for joining us and conversing. We always appreciate it. You can also check out our Patreon to help keep us going, keep the lights on, keep us in good condition, and get exclusive content from all of the shows on the Heroes Podcast Network. I think that's it. Did I do a good job?
You did a great job.
We'll see you next week, guys. Bye.